A chemical lab, potentially a lab of weapons of mass destruction with nerve agent chemicals, was found in a residence in Irvine, California, inside a gated community, kind of reminiscent of the biolab just found recently in a house, again, a luxury home in Las Vegas. Which is also that was connected to the biolab found previously in Reedley, California. Now, guys, are these connected? We don't know if this chemical lab is connected or not because they're not really telling us who owned it, who the residents were that were there that were operating it. What is known that is reported that some juvenile started a fire mixing some chemicals. He didn't know what they were, and that brought in the fire department, and that's what got this lab discovered. Now, if you look at these other labs, they really weren't that secure, and it not at all. It could be just that this lab wasn't a science lab of this kid. It might have been something that he just kind of stumbled into and go, "Oh, this looks neat." Fire. Uh, Come on. If some little juvenile kid got nerve agents in his house or nerve agents in his chemistry set, I don't think so. So the National Guard was called into the scene to actually work with this. The FBI has an investigation. So this is highly suspicious. This all underpins things I've been telling you for some time. It could be connected to China, or this could be a rogue thing. It could be absolutely rogue thing. Why would you have weapons of mass destruction type chemicals like nerve agents? That is not a good thing any way you slice it. But it could be a rogue individual, rogue cell, or some other organization behind this. And again, a rogue individual. Because I've been talking about the democratization of destruction. And this fits squarely in that topic. These are the things we got to be worried about in our society today. These are the things that you're going to have to keep your eyes wide open for and be aware of, situationally aware at all times, because our society is getting more complex in a hurry. The threats are going up. We're going to get more into that in a moment. But is it connected to China? We don't know. But the other two were. And so we're going to talk about some of that. So let's go into some screen shares here. We're going to look at this story. Here we are. FBI officials continue to investigate suspicious materials that were found in the home in a gated community in Irvine, California. When officials arrived, they found suspicious materials in what they believed was a homemade science lab that had caught fire. While investigating, they found that there were possible indications of chemical nerve agents. So there you go. Police contacted the Orange County Fire Authority officials for further assistance, who sent hazardous materials teams to the scene. And then the National Guard came in behind that too. So a lot of people got involved in this. So why would you have the FBI and National Guard involved in a kids' science project? No, that's not what the FBI does. And this is a picture of some of those agents outside of this garage where apparently this was located. Now, this is inside a gated community, and being in a gated community means they're less likely to be found, investigated, inspected. So maybe it was deemed a secure place to do something like this. Here again is some of the investigators and some people in some hazmat suits. Now, if this stuff was safe, you wouldn't, if it was some kid's science project kit, a chemistry set, you're not going to be seeing this. So what in the world did they find there? Let's go over here. A hazmat squad raided a home in Irvine, California after a concerned homeowner, it don't say that it's the homeowner there, a concerned homeowner, maybe a neighbor, reported suspicious activity on Monday, but there's also reported that it was a fire response. So it's kind of like the reports are a little bit not exactly lining up with each other. So is there a cover up with this? Now, see here, they also go into amid heightened security potential biohazards. Now, this isn't biohazard, it's a chemical hazard. Two different type of hazards, but equally potentially deadly. And then they talk about a related incident here, talking about the suspected biolabs discovered in Las Vegas, linked to Chinese national Jia Baizu. So they bring that up here. which makes you wonder if this is also connected. We don't know yet because they're not reporting that. It may be they're just withholding information on it, and it's also possible that it's not, because it's possible, as I said, you can have rogue agents doing these kind of things. That's maybe even scarier, because we don't know how many things there are like that. So, I talked about that here in this video on my Galactic Greg's channel, because here's the oddball thing about this. This is so oddball. The name of the community where this was found is Altair. Altair is the name of the community. They found this, the gated community. They found this, well, weapons of mass destruction lab, apparently. Altair. Now, where does Altair come up? Well, over here in this video, I was talking about weapons of mass destruction. It's really highly coincident, really strange that this would happen in a community called Altair, because I've just been talking about this. I've been talking about in this video on Galactic Greg's channel why we need to sprint to the moon just to survive, so we don't have all our eggs in one basket on this planet. Why we need to spread our species out. And and the thing I was talking about in here, watch this, get a load of this. I'm going to play part of this video. Listen to this. Listen to the clock, tick, tock, tick. Today, we're at midnight. Remember the Krell from the 1954 movie, The Forbidden Planet? They annihilated themselves with their own technology. But they vanished overnight because they forgot about the monsters from the id, their own primal. So where was this forbidden planet maybe supposed to be situated? Where was the Krell from? The planet Altair. I kid you not. The planet Altair. Is this weird? In the Krell nucleus, we have the power of gods, but we're still running around on tribal firmware of our ancestors. On Earth, we are a single point failure species. If a nuclear war breaks out, and let's be honest, we're currently playing a global game of nuclear Russian roulette. Here we go. And envy. We got a commercial. Heck with that. I was going to show you some other video. I'm not going to play through it, this commercial. So there you are. The community is named Altair. Altair was a planet that the Krell existed on. The Krell invented technology to the level that they wiped themselves out without any intention of doing so. Oh, the monsters from the subconscious got them. So very advanced for a movie from the mid-50s. But anyway, yeah, think about that. I think that is a very landmark movie just for hitting on that topic area. So FBI and hazmat teams investigating the items found here in Irvine, California. It shows these guys, a whole bunch of them out here in hazmat suits, tables of stuff, and they got some guys that's not in hazmat suits. I guess they're not going in. A lot of emergency vehicles out there, some chemical response vehicles. Look at that, guys. Pretty heavy. This is from Channel 4. I can't play too much of that without getting in trouble. But, And this is Fox 11. This is a look inside the garage where apparently some of the stuff might have been located. I don't know if the garage was a site or not. But, guys, tie this into other things, like the investigation into the Reedley Biolab in Reedley, California. This was in a warehouse. A warehouse. Only discovered because somebody saw, some code inspector happened to be walking around and saw some suspicious stuff leaking out the building, which wasn't supposed to happen. The legal biolab run by PRC citizen who is a wanted fugitive from Canada. And it turns out this wanted fugitive from Canada owned property in Irvine, California, this warehouse. And believe it or not, was it under investigation? They found all these things with biolabs, freezer vials labeled Ebola, the COVID stuff, all kind of pathogens, transgenic mice. And then 3 years later, we discover he had this other property in Las Vegas. Why did it take 3 years to discover that? I mean, the FBI was asleep at the switch. They had to be. This is crazy. Either that, or they didn't care, or they're covering up. What's the case? It's just not nuts. Saying, and just to let you know, these labs aren't that secure. None of them are. They're not level 4 facilities. Just their existence is a hazard. Because the one in Vegas, several fell deathly ill from this from the house in Vegas was being rented out as an Airbnb. That lab was in the basement, and several people there fell ill. I'm gonna tell you, these guys, the CCP, if they're sponsoring this, they don't care. It's not their country. They're at war with us, and most people just can't come to terms with that fact. Otherwise, they wouldn't be placing all these biolabs and other stuff all across the United States. We have no clue how many they are. We have no clue if there's a bunch of chemical labs. We know the FBI suspects that they're prepared to put chemicals and contaminate our drinking water at water treatment facilities and take out maybe entire cities or areas that use that water from that water treatment area. Guys, you need water filters. You need to be able to provide your own water. So we just don't know. What we do know is this is dangerous. We know there's lots of them. We also know the Chinese have been sourcing that ethanol. I'm trying not to say the whole word. It's got the fent as the first syllable. I usually just call it F-ball here. That has taken over 100,000 American lives a year for several years. I mean, total casualties related to that has exceeded probably every war we've ever fought in, and yet China's getting away scot-free with it. They're at war with us, a war by other means, and we're just too dumb to admit it or to understand the gravity of what we're facing. And again, just to drive that home, we got these three Chinese national scholars from the University of Michigan laboratory charged to conspire to smuggle biological materials in the United States. And these were biologicals that could attack our crops. So they got stuff to attack our people, to attack our crops, to attack our water supply. They're hacking all our systems. They're taking us on at every level in our society. And we're just looking the other way. And I'm not kidding you. We really are, because U.S. prosecution, the Chinese scientists may have been abandoned in negotiations with Beijing. What? This is nuts. This is nuts. What do you think cut Beijing off? This is nuts. What in the world are we doing that for? And these are, the ones with that school weren't the only ones. There were a couple of others too. And I've reported on that in this channel. So guys, there's a lot to be concerned with. Sir Martin Rees wrote this book, Our Final Hour. I got a copy in storage somewhere here out in my totes. I haven't got all my books on my bookshelf yet. But this book I've got. And Sir Martin Rees was concerned that chances are we won't make it 100 years. And some of the biggest things he was worried about, and here it says, the scientists warning how terror era and environmental disaster threaten humanity's future in a century. Well, he talked about bio era and bioterror. The bioterror could bring us down, but there also could be bio era, and this stuff just accidentally gets loose. Wuhan, right? You got to wonder. You got to wonder about this stuff. Anyway, guys, we are facing some existential risk in this country. And then, as Eric Weinstein has popularized his concept of this twin nuclei problem. And he says the twin nuclei problem, once a species unlocks the twin nuclei of the cell and the atom, it starts an era where no long-term future confined to a local habitable rocks of our solar system allows you to exist. That's basically what he's saying here. Now, I think he's a little bit pessimistic, because I think once you get off this rock, you're not in the same biosphere, at least. And there may be ways to isolate yourself in the self-contained biospheres here on this planet, which is something I'll be going into more in the future. But yikes, guys. This is scary, really scary. So, and I covered that on this channel too, not just Galactic Greg's. I did this video, Survive Humanity's Self-Destruction, the Democratization of Destruction, and Humanity's Impending Self-Destruction, How to Survive the Krell Countdown. And see, I tied it in with the Krell on this channel too. The Krell was that civilization that brought about their own destruction on the planet Altair. Same as the name of that gated community. Is that serendipitous? Is that some weird coincidence? That's just like off the charts. I found out the community was named Altair. My head exploded. Wow. And I got some other videos in here which should be of use to you recently. I've done about toxic toothpaste with all heavy metals and chemicals in them, toxic overload from our everyday consumer products. Especially, I was picking on dish detergent, hand soaps and things like that. And how there's people that just want to take your all your freedoms away from you. So they're playing for you. And I said, resistance is not futile. That's the subtitle. So, guys, one of the things we can do is when you buy stuff from the big companies, you are basically every dollar you spend is a vote for those companies. Every dollar you spend on them, every dollar you spend buying this junk, every dollar you spend buying this junk. That's why I've come up with another solution for that. I don't just talk about things. I hunt and peck around for some way to get around it. So I've come up with this switchwithgreg.com to switch away from empowering these companies. You got 12 major corporations that control over 550 brands, and they put toxic products in them, and you're buying this stuff. And these companies have controlling shares on them by the likes of BlackRock. And BlackRock is tied into the House of Klaus, if you know what I'm talking about. So you can get away from that and go into a family-owned company that offers non-toxic products. They're plant-based and they're made in the USA, supporting American jobs. To do that, just go here to switchgreg.com, fill out this form, submit it. This is my website, I own it, and so the information goes straight to me. And I got one individual who I share it with. We're not going to sell this data; it's not going anywhere else. And because I'm just so darn busy, she'll contact you and bring you up on this. So, Lisa's a really great lady. I really appreciate her. She's helping me out with this. So check it out, switchwithgreg.com. You can fill this out and find out about that and get away from empowering the House of Klaus and all this stuff and get some clean products for yourself and your family. I want to show you something else while we're here on videos. I've been talking about, went the wrong way there. Where did it go? Didn't want to go to studio. All right, let's go back here. Let's see what it did. Open the new window. Let's go back to videos. What did happen there? I'm going to click the hourglass. And I'm sure I've been talking about this for a long time. Nuke in Every pot. Nuke in Every pot. I predated Eric Weinstein on this topic, and there's a reason for that. A nuke in every pot. I did this video 6 years ago talking about the same problem. A nuke in every pot. And I said, a nuke in every pot. Will technology's mass proliferation lead to self-annihilation? What happens when every person has a nuke? If there is a nuke in every pot or equivalent destructive capabilities. It's not, I don't believe everybody's going to get a nuke, but the democratization of destruction is something that's happening with proliferation of technology. And I recognized this problem when I was building my Halo rockets, when I was standing in a garage making a rocket that could hit space, something that used to take a superpower to do just a few decades before that. And I was doing it on a shoestring budget with just a few guys in a garage. Then it hit me how technology could advance and progress. So, and that was before the year 2000. So I've been rapidly aware of this for some time. And I've also did a video in here about, let's search on iPencil, see what comes up. There's another video I do just talking about how fragile our civilization is. Civilization is more fragile than imagined. And I start from a story from the 1950s again called iPencil, written by a man named Reed, believe it or not, talking about how no one person knows how to make a number two pencil, and the simplest things you can think of. How complex is the cast of thousands. Now imagine where we are today with all our computer systems and our more complex society that we have today than what we had in the 1950s. Civilization is indeed very fragile. And that's why we need to be prepped and prepared because this house of cards can come falling down all too easily. So I'm going to stop the share. So these are the things I want you to know about. These are the things I want you to be aware of. These are the things that you need to start prepping for because there are a lot of threats. They're growing. A lot of people hate humanity. When I was a young person still in high school, I was misfortunately initially communist, and then a good history teacher taught me into the ills of communism, and then I became a socialist for a while until I saw how government actually operated when I went in the army. I grew up, got wise, and cast all that mess aside. But guys, I got to tell you something. When I was in that mindset, I was, because I'd been buying all the environmental stuff I'd been hearing. I thought humanity was a poison, a scourge, a to the whole planet. And there's a lot of people in the radical environmentalist movement that think that. And there's a few books that's been written that takes that notion to the idea that environmental radicalist groups would develop weapons of mass destruction from biological agents with the idea of taking down the human population dramatically. Kind of fits with that Georgia Guidestone thing. You see, there's a lot of uber elites that kind of think the same way. These are things, this is so many reasons you need to be prepared. This is why, part of the reason is that, and I realize there's so many threats to our civilization. This is why I started prepping long before I started these YouTube channels. So it's something you need to be aware of. You need to get your preps in order, especially right now while we've got a major war going on. And I'll be covering probably in my video tonight some new developments in the area of sleeper cell activation. You better be worried about sleeper cells and lone wolf actors. These are things you better start paying attention to. And, this is just with our war with Iran that's going on. If we get into it with China, it's going to be a whole nother level. And that is more likely than not because China is basically already declared war on us, and we just haven't figured it out as a society yet. And we're just treating them as normal. Okay, we'll just negotiate with them and turn all these actors that's been trying to bring us down. We'll just turn them loose. We'll send them back over there. They can be free. If you think that's wise, tell me so in the comments below. What do you make of that? Tell me in the comments what you think about all that. I'd like to know. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching. And stay tuned. I'll be probably going live tonight if I can pull it off. With that, I'm going to say I'm putting a video right here. That one I was talking about the democratization of destruction. And so, guys, God bless. Eyes wide open, head on a swivel, and Greg out.